Hello, grade 6 teachers, and welcome to the wonderfully busy month of June. So I know a lot of us are currently working on PAT review, and so it's really great to build in time in our social studies to build in some review time, as well as going through some of these curricular outcomes that we continue to have in June. If you are looking for resources or support for reviewing for the PAT, just reach out. I'd be happy to come and model some review lessons for you, or to talk to you about different activities you can do to keep review engaging and exciting for your students. So with the month of June in our pacing guide, we are continuing to understand democratic principles, historic democratic principles of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. And like I said in my previous video, we truly are trying to use the Haudenosaunee as often as possible in replace of the Iroquois Confederacy. So making sure that that is clear for our students, and we're trying to address that as much as possible. So within the month of June, we are looking at the wampum belt and how it addressed collective identity. And at your May school teams meeting, your school would have received a 48 bundle of Strong Stories, Strong Nation books. And within that, you're going to have a ton of resources that will help. There's a book called The Two-Row Wampum that really looks into the details of that. There's one that looks into the different clans, and then there's one called the Thanksgiving Address. So they are the purple books, so the purple kind of tagged books that you should have received in your school. So they look like that. The blurring effect isn't helping. There we go. So they look like that. And those 3 books are going to be really great resources for what you're working on with this outcome. So just like ancient Athens, we are also looking at how the society, how that social structure impacted the political structure. So again, looking at clan mothers, looking at the selecting of chiefs, looking at the representation within the Grand Council. So really truly getting our students to understand that just like ancient Athens, there's similarity between the two is that the structure of the society enables and allows for the political structure to play out as the way it did. So they're kind of based off of each other. And then again, we want to look at decision making within the Confederacy. So here's that understanding of what is consensus, and then how do we select chiefs, for example, with specific qualities that will enable consensus to happen within that Grand Council. How do we ensure all voices are heard within the Grand Council? What are the roles within the Grand Council, and those types of content ideas, but overarching idea is going to be that compare and contrast of those two historic understandings of it. Also important to understand that the Haudenosaunee Confederacy is still working today. It's still a form of government and a form of democracy within Canada today. For the skills, we're going to continue looking at critical and creative thinking. So if we can assign or see any local or current affairs, that would be really important for source work right now. Looking at a variety of sources is going to be essential for a provincial achievement test. So making sure that we're working through resources. So even if you have a map, a graph, if you have images, one of the best strategies that you can teach your students is to provide it with a title or a headline. So looking at this graph, for example, what title could we give it? That is generally anywhere from 3 to 6 questions within the PAT. They'll have to choose and select a title for a source. So a really great resource to use is current events for that as well. Looking at reevaluating those personal opinions to broaden our understanding. So using strategies such as I used to think and now I think are really going to help you to evaluate whether our students are reevaluating their opinions within there. Our language here, of course, we're going to look at consensus, wampum belt, social structure, political structure, decision-making, democratic ideals, equity, and fairness. Within the student activities, again, really important that we continue focusing on those strategies, monitor and clarify, making sure we're doing close reading strategies, making sure our students are able to do a see, think, wonder when they see a source. How do they connect to the source information is going to be really important. Again, that's great also for review. So pulling up old PAT questions and looking at the sources and doing see, think, wonder. I used to think, now I think, giving them those attack strategies, because you can't possibly teach every single source because we don't know what's on the PAT, but how do we address those source-based questions truly falls under some of those reading comprehension strategies. With our writing assignments, we've got some various writing prompts here for types of writing. Opinion, cause and effect continues to be really important, but that comparison piece, especially in June, is going to be really important. Comparing the Haudenosaunee to Athens, comparing all those two back to Canada would be a great way to do that. Having them write and engage in speeches also works really well with our English language arts department. So what kind of speeches can our students write in regards to perhaps a wampum belt or something like that? Continuing to use visible thinking routines that really truly help to our students to see alternate viewpoints and look at different perspectives. So that's circle of viewpoints and lenses. And then of course our tried and true parts, people, and interaction. So back with our Haudenosaunee Confederacy, who are the people involved, what are the parts, and how do they interact, how do they work together? Because again, this is government and therefore it's systems thinking. So how does this system work together? And this is truly where we can see if our students understand the social and political structure and how they interact in order to make this work. Within here, we've got some different activities. There's a reader's theater, there's a political structure map, there's a couple critical challenges, there's different models that you can take a look at, and lessons from the past. Our assessment piece here for conversations, we have some high impact conversations. So again, feel free to use an item such as Flip and have your students recording orally their responses to them, writing these down. You can have cooperative learning structures where they're using fan and pick, where they're looking at inside-outside circles and having these discussions. Lots of opportunities to build in those discussion protocols in your classroom. And these can be some of those anchoring questions. And then for you as the assessor at this time, you're listening for these types of responses. And then, of course, under our observations, we're looking more specifically at the skills. So, looking for ability to identify and articulate source information. Looking for, are we questioning our sources? Are we looking for validity, reliability? Looking for creative approaches to solving problems. Looking for our students to be able to logically organize and sequence events, for example. So, those are all there. And then within our resource section, we have the Canadian Encyclopedia with the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. We've got books again that I highlighted earlier for you. And again, just making space to ensure that we have contemporary voices heard as well here. So our students are not just seeing the Haudenosaunee Confederacy as a historic democratic example. It's still contemporary and making sure that our students have the opportunity for that. Like always, if you have any questions, you need some support with getting through this last month of June, whether it be with PAT review or whether it be with the content we're covering, please reach out to samantha.davidson@ecsde.net. Reach me on Teams. I'm happy to plan with you, happy to come out and support some model lessons with you, or just to kind of chat about what the month of June could look like, maybe some scheduling time for your PAT review. Happy to support in any of those. Congrats on completing another year, and I look forward to continuing working with you next year. Bye.